Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zarina El-Amin Naeem, and I am a freedom business mentor and a reinvention strategist. So today I want to talk to you about how you can use self-publishing to launch a freedom business. Now, first of all, what is a freedom business? A business alone is something in which you sell a product or a service and you make money. And that sounds great, right? I have a business, hopefully a successful business. But a freedom business takes it a step further. It is something that not only feeds your pocket, it feeds your soul and the world. And so as Muslims, as people who care about the society, as people who are here in order to make our society better, it is incumbent upon us that when we are entering into any type of realm, any type of business, any type of financial area, that we are looking at this as a way to do our God-given work on this earth. All right? So that's what I mean when I say freedom business. Now, I run a company called Enliven Your Soul, and Enliven Your Soul works with women primarily, right? Works with women primarily on creating freedom businesses. But I got my start with publishing. So I know the power of publishing. Okay. Now, when you are working to create a freedom business, you need to be able to build up your platform. You need to be able to communicate to the masses what your message is, your unique message, right? You need to be able to have something that can speak for you when you are not actually in the room. And that's where the power of your book comes in. All right. Now, let me tell you how this got started for me, because I think in my story, you will be able to see where you can fit in and how you can utilize this for your own progression. All right. So I did my master's in anthropology. Anthropologists, what's up? I did my master's in anthropology. And as a part of my master's requirements, I had to do a thesis, right? So my thesis was on the singlehood epidemic within the Muslim community. That is, why are so many Muslims single and trying to get married but having a problem? That was my big question. I wanted to know what was going on in our community, right? So I conducted a year-long study in which I interviewed Muslims all across the United States, from all different types of backgrounds, to understand what was happening in the home, to understand what was happening in the masjid, to understand what was happening in the university and the broader society, so that we can figure out what was some solutions in order to fix this problem. So I spent a year doing that research, and in the end, I turned in my master's thesis. After many iterations of it, it was approved, and hey, I got my master's, right? And for many people, that's where it ends. For me, as a part of the Muslim community and as someone who people understood was here to do something greater, I had a lot of people asking me like, Z, what did you get from that? Zarina, what were your findings with that program, that research that you were doing? Zarina, how can we get these people hooked up? So I was getting all of these inquiries. And after typing the same thing over and over and over in email for so long, that gets pretty old. It gets pretty tiring. However, nobody ain't going to read, everybody's not going to read my thesis. A thesis is boring, right? Who wants to read a thesis? So I had to say, okay, they're not going to read my thesis, yet all of the information is there. How can I take what I have done and put it into a format that actually is going to be useful for my community? And so what I did was enter the realm of self-publishing. All right. I already had my thesis. All I needed to do was tweak it enough so that it actually was going to be read, right? And actually would be able to be of service. And that's how my entire career in publishing started. So it started with this book right here, Jihad of the Soul, Singlehood and the Search for Love in Muslim America, right? So this was my master's thesis adopted for a broader audience. Now, that was my initial goal. That was my goal totally. That was it. I wanted to make this book. I wasn't really concerned with how much money I was going to make from the book. I wasn't really concerned with how it would, benefit me solely. I was just thinking about putting it out there, right? And I know a lot of you all enter into the publishing realm because you just have a message that you want to put out there, which is absolutely amazing. But if we're talking about building a freedom business, right? The freedom business not only does good for the world, it does good for your pockets and your soul too, right? So you have to feed your pockets, your soul, and the world. So alhamdulillah, luckily, people began to really take on to the book. I was getting speaking engagements. I was getting called to do workshops and things around singlehood. And that's where the money actually came in. So for many of you who are looking to get rich from the sale of your books, you're going to have to sell a lot of books in order to get rich, from that. But if you look at the spin-off activities that can come from the book, from the message that you put out into the book, then you'll see how you can build a solid foundation using the book as a platform builder for you, right? Is it making sense? Are you getting this so far, with me? So that's how it went down for me. I published the book with the idea of just helping the Muslim community. And then all of the speaking engagements and other things started to come to me. So from there, right? So from there, I noticed that people were asking me a lot of questions. How did you publish your book? How is your book so professional? Because you can self-publish a book and it looks janky. That wasn't what I was going for. I wanted my book to look exactly like any other book on Barnes & Noble's shelf. Not any other book on Amazon, because you got a whole bunch of janky looking stuff on Amazon. I'm talking about I wanted a quality book that could stand the test of time in the regular book publishing industry. That's the kind of quality that I go for. So people saw the quality and they wanted to know how could they do that for themselves, right? And so the first person I helped was my family, my father. I helped publish his book and people saw that. And so inquiries started to come in for me. And I was like, oh, okay, this is something that people really want from me. They like what I'm teaching them. I need to monetize it, right? And so that led to me actually starting a program called Book Power, which helps other people to self-publish their books successfully. All right. Now, can you see how it started with my book and ended into or led into a business, right? That wasn't my original intention, but Allah guided it that way, and that's the way it led right into the business. Now, if you are intentional, though, you can take your book and build out your other streams of income utilizing that book as the foundation. Here's what I mean. Is that the same way that I was doing speaking engagements around singlehood, the same way that I started doing workshops around singlehood, you can already think about that up front. So even if you're a fiction writer, right, you can say, what is the theme that my book is centered around? Every single book has a message, from fiction to nonfiction. Every single book is teaching something. So you need to know, what is your book teaching? What is the problem that your book is solving? And even if it's a fiction title, it still is doing that, okay? It's still serving that purpose. So once you know what that theme is, right, you can then build out a talk. You can then build out a workshop. You can then build out a program that's centered around that theme. And that's how you use your book to launch a freedom business. Are you getting it? So it is the theme. It is what your book is solving. It is the message that your book is bringing forth that is the powerful asset that you're going to be able to hook into in order to bring those other more lucrative streams of income to you. All right. So I want you all to really think about, how could I use my book as the platform? What is my book solving? Let me give you an example. Let's say you have an accountant, and this accountant writes a book on money leaks, because money leaks is a big thing that I've been teaching my ladies in my programs on right now, like money leaks, right? So this accountant shows you how to look at your life and find the money leaks in order to have more money, keep more of the money that you're bringing in, right? Now, this accountant does this, and then they put on the program called Money Leaks. And then they have a workshop called Money Leaks, right? And then they maybe have a whole 3-day event for business owners called Money Leaks, where they bring in, all of these business owners and do this real deep audit on their business so that they can find the money leaks and then cap them. Okay, so can you see how this, from the accountant standpoint, they are helping their people keep more money, utilizing all of the financial tools they know, and then they're building out additional programs using that book as the foundation. Everything that they teach is going to come from that book. They're not reinventing the material. They already wrote it in that book, right? And then they're just going to use that same material and provide it in different formats. All right. So this is my specialty. This is what I help people do. I help people look at their skills, look at their talents, look at their industries, find solutions that they can provide for other people, and then build out streams of income on top of them. Okay, so this is what I mean by you using your book as the foundation for a freedom business. Now, let me tell you something else. It doesn't have to just be a book, okay? It doesn't have to just be a book. After publishing my books, I went on to publish a, like a series of calendars called Beautifully Wrapped, okay? Some of you all may have our calendar, some of you may not. So this calendar too, again, the same thing. The calendar led to what? Workshops, which led to programs, which led to a big event now called the Head Wrap Expo that I reach literally thousands of people every single year. All started with this calendar though. It all started with this calendar. So when you create your book, you are creating an asset, right? And hopefully a quality asset. Don't put out something janky. Don't put out something that looks jacked up, because that's not speaking to the quality of who you are. So you want to put out something that is of quality. You want to put out something that presents who you are out there to the world. And when you do that, you are going to then attract other opportunities to you. All right. So obviously I'm not the best head wrapper in the game, but people come to me and they ask me for my opinion, and they ask me to do workshops because I have an asset. I have something that I created that sets me apart from every other head wrapper in the game. All right. You guys understanding what I'm saying here? Are you picking up what I'm putting down, as my older, mature generation would say, right? So this is what I want you all to think about, is how this book that you're creating now can lead to more lucrative streams of income. Because if you don't plan this out and you come into it just looking at the sale of the books, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself a disservice. All right? Making sense? Okay. So I want to go over really quickly. Let me pull up my notes here. I want to go over some of the steps that I take people through to launch a book. All right. All right. So the first step is that you need to lay a solid foundation. You need to lay a solid foundation. Right now, I believe that we're in an emergency situation as far as Muslims in the United States. Okay, we literally are under attack, if you will. Our character is under attack. Our existence is under attack. And that attack is leading to the mental degradation, I would say, of our society. So you have an article here by the New York Times that said, young Muslim Americans are feeling the strain of suspicion. All right. U.S. Muslims reel at Trump supporters' hostility. News. There have been 19 hate crimes against Muslims in the past week. You know, that was an old article. Okay, so this is the stuff that we're dealing with now. This is the stuff that's being put out there into the society in which we live, in which we work, right? In which our babies go to school in. Okay, this is what's out there, right? So I'm about making a cultural shift. As I told you all, my background is in anthropology. My later background was in anthropology. My first background was in computer science. But then I switched over to anthropology because I'm all about culture. I'm all about how can we affect the way that people think, the way that people believe, the way that people behave. How can we change that and make that be better? Right? And so here's where the power of your message comes in and why you need to lay a solid foundation on what is your why. You hear this all the time, like, what is my why? You got to think about your why. My entire publishing company, when I started it, was called NIA, which is what? Intentions. Because I wanted to remind myself to always come forward with good intentions, with good positive intentions. You want to do the same with your book. You want to know what are your intentions with putting this book out. Do you want to build a freedom business? Or do you just want this to be a hobby where you just put out your message and that's it? Like, what is your goal? For me, part of my goal with everything that I do, helping women build their freedom businesses, right? The trips that I take people on around the world, everything that I do is centered around affecting the way that people think, behave, and believe, right? Okay? And I see that publishing is one of the most powerful tools in order for us to do that. Okay, so let me give you a definition of culture real quick and come into like how this affects what we're doing. So culture is a way of life of a group of people. It is the behaviors, the beliefs, the values, the symbols that they accept. And I'm reading this from the United Nations. All right. The symbols that they accept generally without thinking about them. And these symbols, beliefs, and values are passed along by communication and imitation from one generation to the next. All right. So that's what culture is. But guess what is one of the most influential aspects of culture? The written word. The written word. Think back to when you were going to school. I know everybody's like, it's all videos where it's at. You're watching me on video right now. But think about when you were in school. Were you watching lots of videos in school from the teacher's perspective? No, you had books. Books are one of the most powerful tools we have to affect the way that people think, believe, and behave. Okay? So you putting your message down into a book format, one, you have the ability to reach many more people, right? And two, that book can outlive you. My father gave me a book that was written in 1920. It was written in 1920 about personal development. I'm all into reading lots of books about personal development and such. And so he had this book that was written in 1920. Like literally, it was like wrinkled papers, crumbling kind of papers or whatever, right? And so this book that this dude wrote, Pollock was his name, I am able to read it because he put it into written format, right? So you putting your book into your message into a written format allows you to then give your message and have it be like a sadaqah jariyah, something that is of benefit to the people long after you leave this earth. All right. So your stuff is that important. Your stuff is that important. All right. Now, we know that what I'm saying is that the power of the book has the ability to not only be a sadaqah jariyah for you, it also has the ability to contribute to creating cultural shifts in the society, right? So books are that powerful. But if you don't actually write the book, if you don't actually get it done, then you're not going to be able to benefit from all of that purpose, right? All right, so after laying a foundation for yourself, and this means like I want you to really know, why am I doing this? What is my goal? What is the cultural shift that I want to see in society? How much money do I want to make? And don't try to get all holy on me thinking like it's wrong for me to try to make money from my book. No, we need to have people who are financially stable, who are financially affluent, so that we can fuel all of the programs that we need. We need our scholarship funds, our masters, our books. Our schools. We need all of these things, and they take money. So don't play that little broke card with me that you don't want to say that I want to go into publishing in order to make money. A freedom business, what? Feeds your pockets, your soul, and the world. All three of them. Those are the three pillars, if you will, of a freedom business. Okay? All right. So it's important for you to make money with your product, with your service, with your book. And you need to know how much money do you want to make. So that's part of laying the foundation for yourself. Identify what you want to get out of this process at the early juncture. Don't wait until later. Don't wait until later. Identify how much money do I want to make this year with this book? How does that break down? So many book sales, so many other streams, programs, workshops, speaking, you know what I'm saying? Like, have that written down for yourself. All right. All right. So after you lay that foundation, then the next thing is that you want to do some research. You want to do some research on, you want to know your stuff pretty much. Like what is the message that you want the audience to take away with? What are you actually trying to put forward in your book? What, if you need to do any additional research, like from the nonfiction standpoint on some additional tactics, do the research. Don't come into publishing a book lazily. That's really what I want to say. How that, like, say it like that. Don't come into publishing a book and be lazy. You want to put the best book out there that you can. But you also realize that there is a balance. So if you are a perfectionist, don't say that Zarina told me to just put out the best book I can and my book isn't perfect yet, so I can't put anything out. Don't say that Zarina told you that. No, I'm saying put the best book that you can out, but you're not going to allow yourself to get stuck in this perfectionism wheel. Where you just swirling around. Well, I haven't done this yet, so I can't put the book out. I got to do this, so right? All of those excuses. So you can't get stuck in the perfectionism wheel. But you want to do your due diligence. You want to come with your best foot forward. And so that may require you to do some research. All right? Okay? Making sense? Making sense? All right, so I teach a process, and of course, I'm not going to be able to go into the whole process right now, but I teach a process called chunking it. And this is a process that I use for every single thing I do. Every single person who I'm helping building their business, every publication I'm putting out, every big event that I want to organize, it all comes down to this process. And this process is called chunking it. I don't know why I call it that, but that's what it's called, chunking it. So what I mean is that you take the big idea of your book and you then chunk it down into bite-sized chunks. Because how many of you feel overwhelmed sometimes when you think about writing a book? So you think about like all the things that have to go into it, right? But what if right now you were just focused on writing 2 pages a day? Like that was your sole goal. Get your first draft done. You wrote 2 pages a day, right? And then in 90 days, you have 180 pages. Okay. What if your first part was just to get your outline done? Write the outline so that when you're actually writing those 2 pages a day, you aren't like stuck twiddling your thumbs. What should I write about? I don't know what to say. Nobody likes writer's block. So this process of chunking it, the process of having an outline are things that are going to help you avoid writer's block and avoid wasting time. Avoid wasting time. All right. So think about how you can chunk down your process, your big goal, and make it into bite-sized chunks. All right. All right, so we're avoiding analysis paralysis. We're avoiding procrastination by chunking it down and by knowing where we're going. All right. So the next part is that you want to create a detailed outline. So I spoke about like a basic outline. Then you want to go into a more detailed outline. So now I literally want you to kind of map out what the book looks like on one sheet of paper. You can write down, okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, chapter 7. I'm going to have my introduction and my conclusion, right? The introduction and conclusion are written last, so don't try to write your introduction first. The introduction is going to come at the end. You're going to write it at the end because by that time you know exactly what is in the content of the book. Don't try to write your introduction first. I know a lot of you guys do this and it's like jacking you up. So don't do that, okay? But your outline, it needs to be on just a sheet of paper. Start with that, where you just write down, this is what I'm going into chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, blah, 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 so that you can see at a glance where you're progressing with the book. You know where I want to have it and where I want to do it, right? So there are some other steps that come into this, but I'm trying to give you the big areas so that even if after this video you're watching me right now, you can actually take some of this and start to implement it, okay? All right, so you're going to do a detailed outline, and then you're actually going to write. So as I said, you can start doing 2 pages a day. You can do a chapter a week. However it fits your schedule, however you chunked it down, then that's the schedule you're going to follow. But when you follow a structure to your writing, it trains your brain to follow that structure, and it allows you to just keep moving through the process without hitting those big roadblocks. You're going to hit some mini roadblocks, but you won't be like stuck and paralyzed, all right? Okay, so after you've written it, then what? We go into the editing process. Self-editing first. You need to come in there maybe 3 times and look at different aspects each time that you're self-editing and tweak it and get it as close as you can to a final thing, right? And then you pass it off to a professional editor. Don't skip that process. Don't skip that process. You need to pass it off to a professional editor to really be able to fill in the gaps and see what your eyes are going to gloss over. Because you've been in this material so long that your brain will literally fill in the gaps for you. You could have a walked, and you think you put a man walked in there because that's what you intended, but that ain't what's on the paper, right? So your brain filled it in, but somebody else who's fresh, they're going to see all those gaps and be able to fix them. All right. So pass it off to a professional editor. And then from there, you're going to go into all of the, publication actual process, whether you're using CreateSpace, whether you're using Ingram Spark, whether you're going to be using Smashwords or any of the other publishing platforms, from having your edited copy and of course the cover, then you're going to go into publishing. All right. Now that's the book itself. But remember, I'm talking about how you're going to use the book as the platform for your freedom business, okay? So, as I mentioned earlier, you could do speaking engagements centered around the theme of your book. You could put on your own workshops centered around the theme of your book. You could build a program centered around the theme of your book. Are you getting the center around the theme of your book part? I hope that's what you're getting, because that's going to become your brand. That's going to become your brand for right now, the theme of this book, okay? Not necessarily the fact that you are a writer. Some of you guys are trying to build a business on the fact that you are a writer. Nobody cares really that you are the writer. They want to know what is the theme, what is your message that you're putting out there. So if you take nothing away from what I'm saying today, take away that your brand, the strength of your business that you're building is built on the theme of that book, not the fact that you're a writer. I don't even really see myself as a quote unquote writer, right? I'm a businesswoman, but I don't necessarily see myself as a quote unquote writer. People say, hey, you wrote a book, you're an author, but that's not the way that I see myself. I write assets. I create assets that I can use to fuel my business. Okay. So whether you see yourself as a writer or not, wonderful. But what I'm saying is that the public, they want to know what's the theme that you're putting forward. What is your message? What is your purpose? of even being here. It's like, that's the purpose. That's what they want to know. All right. So that's a great overview for you of how you can utilize your book to launch a freedom business. Now, for those of you who want to get more assistance with this, you can join one of our mini programs that we have. You can also just come and get our free materials. We have tons of free materials as well. All right, so you can go to enlivenyoursoul.com, and there's a starter guide there that's absolutely free for how you can use what you know and turn it into a freedom business. That's ENLIVEN yoursoul.com. All right, enlivenyoursoul.com. So I am excited for all of you all Muslim writers and publishers, and I really want you to recognize that what you're doing is powerful. What you're doing is contributing to society. What you're doing is leaving a legacy for you and your family and your community. All right. So don't take it lightly. Don't take it lightly. All right. Reach out. You have some wonderful people in this entire group here who can assist you. If you're stuck, reach out to somebody and get some assistance. Don't stay stuck. Don't stay in that analysis paralysis. Don't stay paralyzed because you're not willing to step out and actually just ask for assistance. Okay? All right, so I am Zarina El-Amin Naeem. I'm your freedom business mentor and your reinvention strategist. Why? Because you get to design your life exactly the way you want it to be. Assalamu alaikum.